The Galactic Council station floated silently in deep space, shining like a ring of silver fire against the dark stars. Ships of many shapes moved slowly around it, each one representing a different civilization from distant worlds. For centuries, this place had been a center of diplomacy, power, and fragile peace. Species came here to argue, negotiate, and sometimes threaten each other without starting wars. Every decision made inside its walls could change the fate of entire systems. Humans were new to this part of the galaxy. Some species respected them. Many did not. Most simply watched them carefully, unsure what to expect from a race that survived disasters again and again but still smiled easily and trusted strangers. Elias Ward stepped off his small transport ship with a quiet breath. He looked ordinary compared to the towering aliens around him. His clothes were practical, his expression calm, but his eyes moved constantly, observing everything. He had spent years traveling alone between systems, fixing engines, carrying cargo, and avoiding trouble whenever possible. Today, trouble had found him anyway. In his hand, he carried a small metal case marked with diplomatic seals. He did not know what was inside. He had been told only one thing: deliver it directly to the Scifi royal court. No detours, no questions. The moment he entered the station, he felt eyes on him. Tall, insect-like beings clicked softly as he passed. A group of blue-skinned merchants paused mid-conversation. Even a massive armored warrior turned his helmet slightly to watch him walk by. Humans were still rare here. Some saw him as curiosity. Others saw him as a risk. Elias ignored the attention. He had learned long ago that reacting to alien stares only made things worse. He followed the glowing path projected onto the floor by his navigation device. The halls were enormous, built for species larger than humans. Soft light flowed along curved walls, and distant voices echoed in languages he did not understand. High above, unseen by most, Princess Lyra watched from a transparent balcony. She stood perfectly still, her silver robes reflecting faint starlight. The Scifi were known for their grace and composure, and she carried both naturally. Her eyes followed the human below with quiet interest. Humans fascinated her. Reports described them as unpredictable, emotionally driven, and strangely loyal. Some called them dangerous, others called them naive. Lyra believed neither description was complete. She noticed how the human walked without fear but without arrogance. He looked at everything carefully, almost respectfully, as if he knew he was a guest in a place that did not fully accept him. One of her advisors stepped closer. "Your Highness, shall I have security monitor the human more closely?" "They already are," she replied softly. Indeed, guards moved subtly through the halls, their armor sleek and dark, their weapons ready but lowered. The Scifi valued control above all else. Nothing unexpected was allowed near the royal chambers. Elias finally reached a massive doorway carved with symbols that shimmered like living light. Two guards blocked his path. They were tall, their armor flowing like liquid metal, their eyes hidden behind glowing visors. He stopped at a respectful distance and lifted the metal case. "Delivery for the royal court," he said calmly. One guard extended a scanning device. A soft beam passed over the case and over Elias himself. The device emitted a faint tone. The guards exchanged a silent glance. "Step forward," one commanded. Elias obeyed. The door opened slowly, revealing a wide chamber filled with floating lights and distant figures moving across elevated platforms. Diplomats from many species were present. Conversations paused as Elias entered. He felt suddenly very small. As he walked forward, something shifted in the atmosphere. The lights flickered briefly. A sharp sound echoed from somewhere behind him. Then alarms exploded across the chamber. Red light flooded the walls. Energy barriers snapped into existence. Guards appeared from hidden positions, surrounding him instantly. Weapons rose. "Do not move," one shouted. Elias froze, confusion flashing across his face. "What's going on?" he asked. No one answered. Instead, more guards moved into formation. Energy rifles hummed, charging with dangerous light. A voice announced over the chamber speakers, cold and official. "Security breach detected. Human subject identified as potential threat." Elias felt his heart begin to pound, but he forced himself to stay calm. Panic would only make things worse. "There's a mistake," he said carefully. "I'm just here to deliver." "Silence!" A guard stepped closer, weapon aimed directly at his chest. Above them, Lyra leaned forward slightly. She watched every movement carefully. Something about the situation felt wrong. The human's posture did not match that of someone hiding guilt. He stood steady, hands slowly lifting to show he carried no weapon. His eyes moved not with fear but with focused awareness, trying to understand rather than react. One of the council members whispered urgently to another. Tension spread quickly through the room. Elias swallowed slowly. He knew enough about alien politics to understand that misunderstandings could become deadly very fast. "I have diplomatic clearance," he said, keeping his voice steady. "You can check the seal." A guard snatched the metal case from his hand. Another kept the weapon aimed at him without hesitation. Scanning lights flashed. Suddenly the guard stiffened. "Unauthorized encryption detected," he announced. The chamber filled with murmurs, espionage, sabotage, dangerous words passed between diplomats. Elias felt the situation slipping beyond control. "That case was given to me by an official courier network," he said. "I don't even know what's inside." But suspicion had already taken root. The weapons rose higher. Above, Princess Lyra made her decision. She stepped forward and activated her personal comm channel. Her voice rang clearly across the chamber. "Stand down." Everything stopped. All eyes turned toward her as she descended gracefully from the balcony. The guards hesitated but did not lower their weapons completely. Lyra approached slowly, her gaze fixed on the human. Elias met her eyes. For a moment, the noise of the chamber faded. He noticed how calm she seemed despite the chaos. She studied him carefully, as if searching for something beyond words. "Why are you here, human?" she asked. "To deliver that case," he answered honestly. "That's all." She turned toward the guards. "Has he shown aggression?" "No, Your Highness." "Has he attempted escape?" "No." She looked back at Elias. "Then lowering weapons would be reasonable," she said. The guards hesitated again. Protocol demanded caution, yet royal authority could not be ignored. Slowly, reluctantly, some weapons lowered, but not all. Elias released a small breath he didn't realize he had been holding. He sensed that this moment would change everything, and he was right. Because somewhere deep within the station, hidden eyes watched the scene with satisfaction. The trap had begun to work. Princess Lyra did not rush. She moved with calm control, like someone who refused to let fear decide anything. The alarm still pulsed red across the chamber, washing every face in warning light. Guards stood in a tight ring around Elias, their weapons half lowered but still ready. Diplomats whispered behind their hands. Some stared at the human like he was an animal that had wandered into the wrong cage. Elias kept his hands where they could be seen. His shoulders stayed relaxed, but his mind was moving fast. He had been in dangerous situations before, pirate inspections, broken airlocks, engine fires, but this was different. Here, one wrong word could become a political excuse. One twitch could become a tragedy. Lyra stopped an arm's length from him. Up close, Elias could see small details. The delicate patterning on her skin that shifted faintly like moonlight, the thin silver circlet at her brow, the steadiness in her eyes. She looked young but not naive. She looked like someone who had learned early how to keep emotions hidden even when the world demanded too much. "You will speak only when I ask," one guard snapped at Elias, but Lyra lifted her hand. "He will speak as I allow," she said. The guard stiffened. "Your Highness, protocol exists to protect the innocent," Lyra replied, voice quiet but sharp. "Not to destroy them." That sentence hit the chamber like a stone dropped into still water. Some diplomats looked uncomfortable, others looked offended. In the Sarathi Empire, obedience and hierarchy were sacred. A princess challenging security protocol in public was not small. Lyra turned to Elias again. "Your name?" "Elias Ward," he said. "Purpose of arrival?" "Delivery," Elias replied. "A sealed diplomatic case." "I was paid to bring it directly here." Lyra's gaze moved to the case now held by a guard. "You knew the contents?" "No," Elias said. "I wasn't supposed to." A soft murmur moved through the crowd. Some believed that made him more suspicious. Others believed it made him less dangerous. Elias could feel opinions forming like storm clouds. Lyra took a slow breath. "If the encryption is unauthorized," she said, "it means one of two things. Either you are lying or someone used you." The guard holding the case spoke. "Your Highness, the seal is real, but the encryption layer does not match standard Sarathi format." Lyra's eyes narrowed slightly. "So the outer seal is correct," she said, "but the inner pattern is not." "Yes," Elias felt a chill. If the seal was real, then someone with access to diplomatic channels had arranged this. That meant the trap was bigger than him. Lyra looked at Elias like she was weighing his entire life in her mind. Where did you receive it? At the courier hub on Kestrel Station, Elias answered. A contact handed it over, official uniform, correct paperwork, everything looked normal. Describe the contact. Elias hesitated. Tall, gray skin, wore a hood. I didn't get a clear face. But the voice translator was set to human standard. That was unusual. Lyra's expression did not change, but something in her eyes sharpened. She turned slightly toward one of her advisors, a thin Sarathi noble with gold markings along his neck. Advisor Wren, she said, how common is it for courier contacts to adjust translators for human comfort? Wren's lips tightened. Not common, Your Highness. Humans are usually expected to adjust. Lyra nodded slowly. Then someone wanted him to feel safe. Someone wanted him to accept the handoff without hesitation. Elias swallowed. That sounded true. A new voice cut through the chamber, louder and full of authority. This is enough. A senior council officer stepped forward, wearing the dark robes of Station Security Command. His face was stern, and behind him stood more armed guards. Princess Lyra, he said, your concern for fairness is noted, but this station's safety is not negotiable. The human is a potential infiltrator. He will be taken to containment. Lyra met the officer's stare without blinking. No, the officer's jaw tightened. Your Highness, you do not command station security. Lyra's voice stayed calm. I command Sarathi guards, and the human stands on Sarathi diplomatic ground. He will be questioned under my authority until proof is found. A ripple of shock moved through the diplomats. Sarathi diplomatic ground inside a neutral station was a legal line most species avoided crossing. The officer looked frustrated. You would risk interspecies conflict over a human courier, Lyra answered with something that made Elias glance at her in surprise. I would risk discomfort over injustice, she said, and I would risk conflict over manipulation. Because if someone can frame a human today, they can frame any of you tomorrow. Silence followed. For a moment, even the alarms felt quieter. The officer's eyes narrowed. Very well, he said. But if the human is responsible, the Sarathi Empire will answer for this interference. Lyra did not respond. She simply turned to Elias. You will come with me, she said. Elias nodded carefully. Yes, ma'am. The Sarathi guards shifted position, forming a protective escort that surprised many watching. Elias walked between them, feeling the heavy weight of 100 stairs on his back. As they moved through the corridor beyond the chamber, the lights returned to normal. But the tension did not fade. Elias could feel it like static on his skin. They entered a smaller hallway, quieter, lined with reflective panels that showed strange, stretched versions of themselves as they passed. Lyra walked at the front, her pace steady. Elias spoke quietly. Thank you, Lyra did not look back. You have not been proven guilty, she said. That is all. But you stood in front of armed guards, Elias said. That's not all. Lyra finally glanced back. Her expression was controlled, but her eyes held something more complicated. Where I come from, she said, authority is often used to silence questions. I dislike that. Elias understood that more than she might realize. They reached a secure diplomatic suite, a wide chamber with soft lighting, calm air filtration, and a view of stars beyond a thick glass window. Sarathi guards sealed the door behind them. Lyra sat at a curved table. She motioned for Elias to sit across from her. He did, keeping his posture respectful. For a moment she studied him in silence. Elias broke it first. Someone wanted me blamed, he said. Lyra nodded. Yes. Elias leaned forward slightly. If that case has unauthorized encryption, it could be a weapon. Not the kind that explodes, but the kind that starts wars. Lyra watched him carefully. You understand politics better than most humans I have met. Elias gave a small, humorless smile. I've traveled too long not to. Cargo ships teach you things. Every port is a lesson. Lyra tapped a finger lightly on the table. If you are not lying, then you were used as a delivery tool. That means the conspirators assumed you would be easy to sacrifice. Elias' eyes hardened slightly. People have tried to sacrifice me before. Lyra did not react to the tone. Humans are seen as convenient, she said, new enough to blame, strong enough to survive, long enough to take the punishment. Elias didn't like how accurate that sounded. Lyra activated a small holographic projector. A floating image of the diplomatic case appeared above the table, showing layers of seals and internal patterns. This encryption, she said, is not Sarathi, but it was designed to resemble ours, a skilled mimic. Elias studied the image. He wasn't a code expert, but he understood systems. He could see how the pattern looked correct at first glance, but the deeper lines twisted strangely. Someone wants it to fail verification, Elias said. If it fails, they can say the Sarathi made a fake. Or they can say humans brought a fake to insult you. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Exactly. Elias felt a slow anger building, not wild anger, but the kind that sharpened focus. He had tried to live quietly to stay out of larger games, but now someone had dragged him into a trap that could destroy more than him. Lyra leaned back slightly. Tell me, she said. Why did you accept this job? Elias hesitated. The easy answer was money, but it wasn't the full truth. I was tired of running small routes, he said. Tired of being treated like I didn't matter. The courier network told me this was a clean job, legit, a chance to prove humans could be trusted in high-level delivery. Lyra watched him. So you wanted respect? Elias nodded once. Yes. Lyra's expression softened by the smallest amount. Respect is not given easily in this galaxy, she said, but humans often chase it anyway. Elias let out a quiet breath. It's in our blood, he said. We don't like being told our place. Lyra looked almost amused. Almost. I have noticed, she said. A soft chime sounded. One of Lyra's guards stepped forward and bowed slightly. Your Highness, the guard said. Security Command requests immediate custody of the human again. They claim new evidence. Lyra's face hardened. What evidence? They did not specify, only that the human's presence is a threat. Elias felt his stomach drop. New evidence could be real or manufactured. Lyra stood. We will not hand him over without review, she said. Bring me the request details. The guard nodded and left. Lyra looked at Elias. You may be in more danger than you realize, she said. Elias gave a slow nod. Yeah, I'm starting to get that. Lyra paced slowly toward the window, staring out at the stars. If they remove you from my protection, she said, they can do anything. They can lose you in a containment wing. They can claim you attacked. They can make you disappear quietly. Elias' jaw tightened. That's how some ports handle problems, he said. I've seen it. Lyra turned back. Then you know why I must be careful. If I am too aggressive, they will accuse me of weakness. If I am too passive, they will take you. Elias took a steady breath. So what do we do? Lyra's eyes narrowed. We find proof, she said. Proof of who altered the encryption. Proof of sabotage. Elias blinked. Sabotage? Lyra nodded slightly. This feels too planned to be only about one case. This station is a symbol. If it becomes unstable, chaos follows. Elias thought quickly. His engineer mind picked up on patterns. Alarms, quick response, immediate accusation, pressure to remove him. These were steps. Can I see the station's engineering logs? Elias asked. Lyra looked at him carefully. Why? Because if someone is manipulating security systems, they might also be manipulating power and access, Elias said. Systems are connected. They have to be. If you want to set a trap, you adjust the lights, the doors, the sensors. That leaves footprints. Lyra considered him for a long moment, then she nodded. I can grant you limited access, she said, but only with my supervision. Elias nodded. That's fair. Lyra activated another terminal. A holographic interface appeared. Lines of code and system maps floated above the table. Elias leaned forward. His eyes scanned quickly, searching for anomalies. He didn't know every alien system, but he understood network structure, redundancy, and security logic. He pointed at a section. This sensor relay, he said. It flagged me as a threat, right? Lyra nodded. Elias zoomed in. See this? The relay didn't just flag me. It also pushed an alert to 3 different security nodes all at the same time. That's unusual. Usually it goes through one central node. Lyra leaned closer. What does it mean? It means someone bypassed central control, Elias said. They wanted the alert to spread fast before anyone could question it. Lyra's gaze sharpened. Can you trace it? Elias worked quickly, fingers moving through the holographic interface. He followed data paths like following footprints in sand. Then he froze. What? Lyra asked. Elias pointed. The relay signal didn't originate from the hallway where I walked, he said. It originated from inside the chamber, near the Council's internal security access point. Lyra's expression turned cold. That access point is restricted. Exactly, Elias said. So someone with clearance created the alert, not an automatic system. Lyra's hands curled slightly into fists before she relaxed them again. She controlled herself, but Elias could see the anger underneath. That means, Elias continued carefully. The human accusation is the cover story. The real purpose might be to distract the council. Lyra looked at him sharply. Distract them from what? Elias scrolled further down the logs. He searched for other irregularities, then he found it. A power fluctuation recorded seconds before the alarm triggered. Tiny, almost invisible, but it wasn't random. It's a probe, Elias said quietly. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Explain. Someone tested the power grid, Elias said. Just a small stress to see how quickly the system reacts, right before the alarm, like testing a lock before breaking it. Lyra's face tightened. So they were preparing something larger. Elias nodded. If they can cause a bigger fluctuation at the right time, maybe during a heated debate, they could trigger emergency protocols, lockdowns, panic, maybe even damage. Lyra stood very still. How dangerous. Elias didn't want to exaggerate, but he couldn't lie. If they hit the power core wrong, he said, they could shut down life support in sections. They could cause magnetic field collapse. They could. He stopped himself. He didn't want to feed fear. Lyra finished the sentence calmly. They could kill many. Elias swallowed. Yes. Silence filled the room. Outside the window, stars did not care. Lyra spoke softly. This station holds representatives from dozens of worlds. If it fails, it will not only be deaths. It will be blame, anger, war. Elias nodded slowly. And if they want war, he said, they need a spark. A human courier accused of sabotage could be a perfect spark. Lyra looked at Elias. You are not a diplomat, she said. No, Elias replied. Yet you understand the shape of the trap, she said. Elias' voice stayed quiet. Humans learn fast when our lives depend on it. Lyra stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded slightly as if accepting something. A new chime sounded, more urgent. The door panel flashed. Lyra's guard returned, face tense. Your Highness, the guard said. Security Command has ordered a forced entry into this suite. They claim you are obstructing station safety. Lyra's eyes hardened instantly. On what authority? Emergency authority, the guard said. They have support from several council members. Elias' stomach tightened. They're coming now? Yes. Lyra turned to Elias. If they enter, they will seize you, she said, and the truth we just found will be buried. Elias stood slowly. So we can't let them take me, he said. Lyra's eyes flashed. No, she said. We cannot. Elias looked around. The suite had one main door and a service corridor behind a panel used for diplomatic maintenance. He had seen these layouts before in other stations. The rich and powerful always had quiet exits. He pointed toward the wall near the window. That panel, he said. Is there a service route behind it? Lyra glanced at it. Yes, she said, for maintenance and emergency evacuation. Elias nodded. Then we use it, he said. We move before they enter. Lyra hesitated only a moment. Then she made a decision. Open it, she ordered. The guard moved quickly and unlocked the panel. It slid aside, revealing a narrow corridor lined with cables and soft blue lighting. It smelled of metal and cold air. Elias stepped closer and listened. Distant vibrations, footsteps approaching. They're close, Elias said. Lyra looked at her guard. Delay them, she said. The guard bowed once. As you command. Lyra turned to Elias. You will follow me, she said. If you betray this protection, you will not survive. Elias met her eyes. I won't betray you, he said simply. You didn't let them shoot me. I'm not going to repay that with dishonor. Lyra studied him, then nodded once. Then move, she said. They entered the service corridor. The panel slid shut behind them. The corridor was tighter than the main halls, built for maintenance drones and smaller workers. Elias moved carefully, keeping quiet. Lyra moved like she already knew the path. Behind them, muffled voices grew louder. A sharp sound hit the suite door, security forcing entry. Elias' pulse rose, but his mind stayed clear. He focused on steps, turns, and the feel of the station around him. Engineers learned to feel structures like living things. After several turns, Lyra stopped at a junction. A hatch on the floor led downward. This will take us closer to the core access levels, she said. Elias looked at her. You're taking me to the power systems? Lyra nodded. If sabotage is happening, we must stop it before it becomes irreversible, she said. Elias hesitated. That's dangerous, and if we're caught down there, we will be blamed either way, Lyra said calmly. Better to be blamed while saving lives than blamed while hiding. Elias didn't argue. That was the kind of logic humans understood too. They descended. The lower levels were darker. The air became cooler, filled with the low hum of machines. Pipes and conduits ran along the walls like veins. Every few meters, warning lights blinked. Elias looked at one panel and frowned. "That light shouldn't be blinking," he said. Lyra glanced. "Why?" Elias moved closer. "It's a load indicator. It says this section is drawing more power than expected," he said. "That could mean someone is charging something large or bypassing safety." Lyra's face tightened. "Can you read where it leads?" Elias followed the conduit markings. "Toward the council chamber grid," he said. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "The chamber again." Elias' voice lowered. "Whoever is doing this wants control of that area," he said, "either to cause panic or to isolate targets." Lyra took a slow breath. "Then we go there," she said. They moved deeper. The hum grew louder. Elias could feel vibrations through the soles of his boots. It reminded him of old Earth power plants, but bigger and more complex. Suddenly, a sound echoed down the corridor, metal scraping. Elias froze and lifted a hand. "Stop!" Lyra stopped instantly. Footsteps, not the heavy steps of guards, lighter, fast. Someone was moving through the maintenance levels, too. Elias' mind raced. If it was security, they were tracked. If it was the saboteurs, they were close. Lyra's hand moved subtly toward a small device at her belt. Not a weapon designed for harm, but a stun tool used for protection. Elias whispered, "Do you have cameras down here?" Lyra shook her head slightly. "Limited. These levels are not monitored constantly." Elias nodded. That was exactly where someone would work if they wanted to hide. The footsteps grew nearer, then stopped behind a corner ahead. Elias and Lyra pressed against the wall, holding their breath. A figure stepped into view. It was not a guard. It wore a maintenance suit, helmet down, carrying a tool case. It looked like a worker, but something about the movement was wrong. Too careful, too aware. The figure paused, scanning the corridor with a handheld device. Elias' stomach tightened. That device was not a normal maintenance scanner. It looked like a signal jammer used to block sensors and scramble logs. Lyra's eyes hardened. She recognized it too. The figure turned as if about to walk away. Elias made a quick choice. He stepped forward, not running, just moving with sudden presence. "Hey!" he called. The figure snapped around, startled. Lyra stepped forward beside Elias, her voice cold. "Remove your helmet," she commanded. The figure hesitated. Elias saw the hesitation and understood, guilty. The figure backed up slowly, then suddenly threw something to the floor. A flash of bright mist filled the corridor, harmless but blinding, meant to confuse and escape. Elias reacted instantly. He grabbed Lyra's arm and pulled her back, shielding her eyes. They stumbled, coughing lightly, eyes watering. When the mist cleared, the figure was gone, running into another corridor. Elias' heart hammered. "They're here," he said. Lyra's gaze turned sharp like a blade. "And now they know we are here too," she replied. Elias stared down the corridor where the saboteur vanished. "We need to move fast," he said. "If they were preparing something, they'll trigger it sooner." Lyra nodded. "Then we stop them," she said. They moved forward again, faster now, but still careful. Elias' mind was focused on one thing. The station was a machine, and machines could be saved if you reached the right point before they broke. Humans were good at that, and now an alien princess was trusting him to prove it. Behind them in the higher levels, the council argued and blamed. But down here in the veins of the station, the real battle was beginning, quiet, hidden, and timed like a ticking clock. And Elias knew one truth with absolute clarity. If they failed, it would not only be his life that ended. It would be the fragile piece of the entire galaxy. The air in the lower levels felt heavier than before. Every step echoed through narrow corridors filled with cables, glowing panels, and distant vibrations from the station's core systems. Elias moved quickly but carefully, his eyes scanning every detail. Princess Lyra walked beside him, calm on the surface but fully alert. She had stepped far beyond royal protocol now. She was no longer simply protecting a guest. She was chasing the truth through the hidden veins of the station itself. The faint mist left behind by the fleeing figure still hung in the air. Elias recognized the smell of the chemical from old engineering jobs. It was designed to confuse sensors and slow pursuit without causing harm. That alone confirmed what he suspected. The saboteur was skilled and careful, someone trained to avoid unnecessary damage until the right moment. "They are not just trying to escape," Elias said quietly. "They're trying to delay us." Lyra nodded. "Which means they are close to finishing something." They turned a corner and entered a wider maintenance chamber. Rows of power regulators hummed along the walls. Lights flickered softly, but Elias noticed something wrong immediately. One entire panel glowed slightly brighter than the others. He moved toward it quickly. "This line is drawing too much power," he said. "See this indicator? It's rerouting energy away from normal distribution." Lyra studied the panel. "Where is it sending power?" Elias traced the digital flow across the interface. Lines extended like glowing veins toward the upper levels. "To the council chamber grid again," he said. "Same location." Lyra's expression hardened. "They want control of the council environment." Elias nodded. "If they overload the grid during a meeting, they could cause structural damage or create a panic evacuation. In chaos, anything could happen." Lyra folded her arms briefly, thinking. "Or they could target specific delegates during the confusion," she added. Elias glanced at her. She was right. Sabotage did not need to destroy everything to succeed. Sometimes all it needed was one moment of fear. A sudden vibration shook the floor beneath them. Elias steadied himself against a railing. "That wasn't normal," he said. Lyra touched her comm device, trying to access external information. Static answered her. The jammer used earlier was still interfering with long-range signals. "We are isolated," she said quietly. Elias breathed slowly. Isolation could be dangerous, but it also meant fewer interruptions. He opened the panel fully and examined the wiring beneath. "This is not random," he said after a moment. "Someone installed a bypass here. They're using the station's own safety systems against it." Lyra watched him work. "Can you disable it?" "I can slow it," Elias said. "But if I shut it off completely without seeing the main trigger, it might activate a failsafe. Whoever did this expected interference." He adjusted several controls carefully, reducing power flow slightly. The humming noise softened. "That buys us time," he said. Lyra nodded. "Then we continue." They moved deeper toward the core. The corridors narrowed again, and warning symbols appeared on the walls. This area was restricted, meant only for senior engineers and authorized personnel. Elias stopped suddenly. "Listen," he whispered, footsteps again, fast, hurried. Lyra positioned herself beside the wall, ready. The figure appeared at the far end of the corridor, the same maintenance suit, moving quickly toward another access hatch. "Stop!" Lyra commanded. The figure hesitated for only a second, then ran. Elias reacted instantly, chasing after them. He wasn't the fastest runner, but adrenaline pushed him forward. Lyra followed close behind, her movements graceful despite the urgency. They turned another corner and reached a larger chamber filled with towering energy conduits. The saboteur reached a control terminal and began pressing commands rapidly. "Don't!" Elias shouted. The figure turned, revealing a reflective visor hiding their face. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then the saboteur spoke through a distorted voice modulator. "You were not supposed to come this far." Lyra stepped forward. "Who are you working for?" she demanded. The figure laughed softly. "For balance," they said. "For change. The council has grown weak. It needs a catalyst." Elias felt anger rise. "You're going to kill people just to make a point? Sacrifice is necessary for progress," the saboteur replied calmly. Lyra's eyes flashed with cold anger. "You speak like someone who has never faced real consequences." The saboteur ignored her and pressed another control. A deep alarm began to sound, different from the earlier security alerts. This one came from the core itself. Elias rushed to the terminal and looked at the display. "They've triggered a cascade," he said urgently. "Power overload building toward the council grid. If it reaches peak, it could rupture the energy field." Lyra stepped closer. "Can you stop it?" Elias' fingers moved quickly across the controls. "Not from here," he said. "This terminal only activates the sequence. We need access to the main regulator below." The saboteur backed toward another exit. "Too late," they said quietly. Lyra moved to block their path. "You will not leave." The saboteur hesitated, then threw another flash device to the ground and sprinted through a side corridor. Elias shielded his eyes again. When he looked up, they were gone. He clenched his jaw. "Forget them for now. If we don't stop the cascade, nothing else matters." Lyra nodded once. "Lead the way." They descended another ladder into the deepest level of the station. Heat filled the air here. The core chamber was enormous, a glowing sphere of energy suspended in magnetic fields, surrounded by platforms and control systems. Elias felt both awe and fear. This was the heart of the station. He rushed toward the main regulator. The display flashed red warnings. "Overload in 3 minutes," he said. Lyra stood beside him. "Tell me what to do." Elias pointed to several manual levers. "I need you to hold that regulator steady while I reroute power manually." Lyra moved without hesitation, gripping the controls. The energy field pulsed brighter, sending waves of light across the chamber. Elias worked quickly, bypassing automated protocols and switching to manual engineering mode. He remembered old human systems, simple, direct, stubborn. He applied the same logic here. "Why risk yourself for this station?" Lyra asked quietly as he worked. Elias didn't stop moving. "Because people are here," he said. "Doesn't matter what species, they don't deserve to die because someone wants power." Lyra watched him with something like admiration. The timer reached 1 minute. Elias adjusted the final sequence. Almost. A sudden surge shook the chamber. The energy sphere flared violently. Lyra held the regulator steady despite the force pushing against her. "Now," she shouted. Elias slammed the final control. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the alarms changed tone. The red warnings faded. Power levels stabilized. Silence filled the chamber except for the low hum of safe operation. Elias leaned back against the console, breathing hard. "We did it," he said quietly. Lyra released the regulator slowly. Relief passed across her face, though she quickly hid it behind royal composure. Above them, emergency lights returned to normal. The station was safe. Moments later, security teams arrived, weapons ready. They stopped when they saw Lyra standing beside Elias at the core controls. "What happened here?" one officer demanded. Lyra stepped forward calmly. "Sabotage," she said, "and this human prevented disaster." The officer hesitated. Elias wiped sweat from his forehead. He felt exhausted but strangely calm. He had done what humans always did, fixed the problem in front of him. Later, back in the council chamber, the truth was revealed. Evidence gathered from the core logs exposed the conspirators, a faction attempting to create chaos to gain political power. Murmurs filled the chamber as the accusations against Elias were officially dismissed. Some delegates looked ashamed. Others looked impressed. Lyra stood beside him. "The guards raised their weapons," she said quietly so only he could hear. "But today they also witnessed why I protected you." Elias smiled faintly. "Guess humans aren't so useless after all." Lyra allowed herself a small smile in return. "You were never useless," she said, "only underestimated." As the meeting ended, many delegates,